Hi, and welcome back to Solitude with Soleil, where I share my thoughts with you in solitude, directly from my mind to the microphone. Today, we're diving into a topic that is close to my heart: dating safety. Now, I know many of us grew up without being taught these essential life skills. But here's the thing: that's okay. Give yourself grace. Life is a journey, and sometimes we have to learn these lessons the hard way. And when we've gone through these bad experiences, it is completely natural for us to go into a shell and to feel a sense of blame and it's my fault. And society also drives this victim blaming culture. But I am a firm believer in accountability not being shame, but accountability being compassionate grace to yourself. And once you can unveil that layer of shame that is there and replace it with compassion, it's easier for your mind to get into what exactly is happening that led to certain behaviors, that led to certain situations, what susceptibilities, vulnerabilities we have. But when we shame ourselves, shame is like a roadblock because no one wants to be filled with shame. It actually is something that we run away from. And so when we can replace our shame with compassion, it's easy for us to get to that place. And the beauty in all of this is that we can take these bad experiences, even the painful ones, and turn them into purpose. We can alchemize them. We can turn our pain into purpose. And then we can use them as stepping stones to make better choices for the future. And I am of the belief, and I hold firmly to this, that in order for you to be a victor, you first have to go through the stages of being a victim. You have to feel the emotions of the anger, the self defeat, the self blame, the sadness, the depression. But getting out of it after and recognizing that it's completely natural for us to feel those feelings, especially when we've gone through something painful, to know that through processing these feelings that we can come out victors, and letting out our feelings is a powerful step in healing, is so great. And any person who pushes you immediately to forgive or to let go or to move on, though they may not have bad intentions, they aren't the safest community for you to heal in, because healing is not easy, and it does not happen overnight, especially once you've experienced a culmination of bad things. There are so many layers to healing, and true genuine healing, that you have to go through in order to reach a place where you want to let go and where you want to move forward. And there is so much grace in learning. And I want to start by acknowledging that it's perfectly normal not to have all the answers when it comes to dating safety. I want us to get rid of the voices externally and internally that shame us, that you didn't know this, you're supposed to know this, you didn't know that. Many of us, and if you're tuning into this podcast, or if you have had a background where maybe you grew up in a troubled home, or the environment was so volatile that you didn't have time, or you weren't taught by your primary caregivers the necessary boundaries and the necessary skills to navigate the world, and that is not your fault at all. Maybe you didn't have someone to guide you through these situations, and no one can judge a situation that they haven't been in themselves, because there is a complexity to dangerous situations that our bodies can sometimes go in a state of freeze or fawn to get through the situation like a deer in headlights. But there is good news. You are not alone, and it is never too late to learn. Because with each misstep and each uncomfortable experience, there is a lesson, a guide for how we can improve our lives and approach these situations should they come up again. So let's take a moment to reflect. Have you ever had an experience like that where, in hindsight, it taught you a valuable lesson? Maybe the first date didn't go as planned, a situation or a date made you feel uneasy, and somehow you weren't equipped with the tools at the moment to deal with it, and maybe something terrible ended up happening, or you experience more discomfort than you would have having the necessary, information to deal with it at the moment. So I want to invite you to think about how that experience has shaped your understanding of what you need in order to feel safe and respected. And the good news is, if you are listening to this podcast, it means that you are taking a powerful step toward making better choices or toward being more informed in situations such as this. And if you're comfortable, share your thoughts with me in the comments. Let's create a dialogue. Share your stories with me, because I find that when we pass that baton, I've read tons of forums, comments that have helped me in my journey of healing and making better decisions. And the beauty of me talking to you is not from a standpoint of I know it all. It's from the standpoint of I've been there. You're not alone. Even the people we consider the smartest, the most accomplished, can still have vulnerabilities and insecurities and susceptibilities that can cause us to be in situations that aren't reflective of our true knowledge, because there is so much at play. There are skillful people out there who can groom you, who are highly manipulative, who are highly predatory, and they have deployed skillful tactics over their lives to get what they want out of people. And so it's never your fault. Now, I want to dive into the essential safety tips. Let's talk about some practical tips that you can use to stay safe while dating. Remember, these aren't just rules, they are tools to help us navigate the dating world with confidence and safety, because that's most paramount. You want to feel safe and never have to go through a terrible experience ever again. And I love that I was in this place where I was filled with so much shame and so much pain from situations, and there are a lot of external voices and internal voices that are there shaming you, like how could you not have seen that sign, or you should know better than to do this and to do that. This is why I stress the importance of really being compassionate. The world, I find, in my own opinion, deeply lacks compassion, grace, and empathy, especially for trauma survivors in certain environments. There are so many people who just did not know or do not know survival skills because of our background. So I'm here for these people. I'm here for the people who grew up with maybe childhood trauma, or grew up not having certain skills taught to them, or who were vulnerable, or who just didn't see the signs coming. I'm here for you. So, the first thing I love and I've incorporated definitely in my life, and I want to share with you through the lessons I've learned, is to first and foremost know exactly where you are being taken. And this isn't about being paranoid. It is definitely about being informed. The moment that someone invites you somewhere, or a guy wants to take you out on a date, and they are apprehensive about where they want to take you, then you should take a step back and really analyze, why wouldn't they want me to know where they are going to take me? And this does not apply to when you are dating someone for a long time and they want to surprise you on a date. They want to take you out somewhere special and they just say, come get dressed. I'm taking you out. No, this is in regards to the first time that you are meeting someone. They should understand why it is important for you to know where you're being taken. Number one, as men also, it is so apparent in society, there are things that women have faced a lot at the hands of men, at the hands of, predators, that they should understand why a person would want to know exactly where they are going. If they display annoyance, if they get defensive, they don't want you to know where they're taking you, that is a red flag, because you need to know where you're going. One, so that you can inform your family or your friends where you're being taken, the address. You need to know the setting of where you're going to be taken. You need to know, am I going to be taken to an open restaurant? How far away it is from your home? You need to be able to find the place online to know that it is a legitimate place and they don't just take you in their car and kidnap you and take you somewhere else that you shouldn't be. So, whether it's a new restaurant or a spot in town you've never been to, it's important to know this so that you can do a little research. So, not only will this give you peace of mind, but it will also help you to feel, comfortable in your surrounding. I would like to give an example of my experience where I ended up really in a whole toxic, terrible situation with someone. And the first date, in hindsight, looking back, I made my boundaries clear to them that I would like to be taken somewhere that has a lot of lights and it's well lit, where I can know exactly where I'm going and where I'm going to be taken. And they told me where I would be taken. I researched where it would be online, and then they ended up taking me somewhere else. Now, that is an example of someone showing clear signs that they do not respect boundaries, that they do not think about the safety of the other person, and they are displaying manipulative signs that I ended up learning the hard way why they did everything they did from the inception of the first outing until the ending of the dynamic. Number two is to tell a friend. Always inform a friend or someone you trust about your date's full name. Share a picture if you have one. Let them know the address of where you're going. I personally feel a sense of safety knowing that my brothers or my friend, a trusted friend, has my live location on at all times. And it's a really simple step that can make all the difference in case anything unexpected happens. The third thing is to carry extra cash. It's always a good idea to have some extra cash on you. And that's something that I have had to learn. Maybe your phone dies or your card doesn't work. So having cash ensures that you're never stuck in a difficult situation where you can't leave or you have to depend on the person to um to take you. What if they don't want to take you? What if they don't want to leave? What if you don't want them to know that you're leaving? You don't want them to take you back home when you feel uneasy. So it's always good to have cash on you, have some extra cash on you. And four, ensure that your data plan is reliable. So make sure your phone is charged and that you have on some data plan so that your internet is working, you have on your proper reception so that you can make a call to emergency services. You want to be able to contact someone in case of an emergency. And if you're in an area that has spotty service, you need to know where the nearest place is that has better reception. Number five is to choose a central location. When picking a spot for your date, opt for a central location rather than somewhere that's close to their home. So this keeps it neutral and gives you, more control over the situation. Number six, and one of the most important keys for me, is to trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And with all these steps that I've mentioned before, don't be afraid to leave the situation if you feel uncomfortable. Your safety and your well being comes first. Always. It is always better to go home and be like, man, I had a weird feeling about that guy and ended the date, rather than to, and speaking from experience, be deny yourself that and stay in something uncomfortable, and then in the end you pay painfully for that. And number seven, if there is a situation where there is alcohol or drinks, avoid drinking too much. While it's okay to have a drink or two, take it slow. Try to keep it at a minimum. Have your water, especially on the first date, because you want to ensure that you are alert and aware of your surroundings, because alcohol loosens or inhibition. It kind of loosens your boundary system in a sense, and you want to be able to be aware of your surroundings and have more control over your cognition and your cognitive skills, your decision making, and your functioning. Number eight, keep personal details private. So on the first date, in the early stages, it's okay to keep certain details to yourself, such as your social standing. One of the main things that a predatory person will look at is your social standing. What this means is, who do you have around you? Are you new to the area? Do you live alone? Do you have friends? Do you have family? These are certain things that a predatory person will look at to gauge how well they can take advantage of you and the situation. Um, no need to share your home address or any other personal information about you until you feel completely comfortable. And that brings me back again to the previous situation I had, where after the first date, they had taken me to my living facility and they were adamant at bringing me right where I enter my code, and they were asking me what room I lived on, just some extremely personal details about me really earlier on. And then they joked about, I'm not a stalker. And of course that makes you feel uncomfortable, like, oh man, look how I'm judging the guy and like considering him to be a stalker, when that, you kind of want to apologize. Listen, trust your instincts. And a lot of times in that situation, I blamed myself, but then I go back and I realize I had my boundary systems in place and this person just chose to walk all over it. I remember telling them that I do not wish for you to come immediately to, right up to my door. Of course, they want to make it seem like it's the safe thing for them to do, to walk you home and, come right up to your door. But I knew that my campus is relatively safe, and that once I'm on the campus, there is security on campus, and that my campus is safe, and there is no need for you to come to the door where I enter my code. And number nine, have a backup plan. This is a plan that you've put in place with a trusted friend who would most likely be awake or would be alert that if things aren't going well, maybe you have a code word. If you feel uncomfortable, you have this backup plan. It's a pre planned excuse to leave, maybe a code word that if you text it fast, you can have a friend who's maybe ready to call you if needed. And maybe you can say, well, I have a family emergency, I have to leave, or a plan to excuse yourself to the bathroom and just disappear and never. And when you feel unsafe, and coming from me with some people pleasing tendencies, you want to think about the pleasantries of the situation, like, oh, he's probably rude to just leave. But whenever you feel unsafe and uncomfortable, it is totally fine to politely excuse yourself from where they are and just disappear. Just disappear. I think we're at 10. Arrange your own transportation if possible. I know that for some, a person may want to pick you up on the first date, but it can be a safety measure that when you arrange your own transportation, that you can know exactly where you are going, that you can leave and the person doesn't have to come and pick you up at your home to know exactly where you live. These are steps because when you're meeting someone for the first time, you don't know who they are. And when they have certain access to certain information about you, not knowing who they are and how safe they are, it can be truly detrimental. So this gives you like the freedom to leave whenever you want without, having to rely on your date for a ride. And if you're driving, it is good to park in a well lit area and keep your keys handy. Check in with yourself regularly. So throughout the day, take a moment to check in with yourself quickly. Like, how are you feeling? Are you comfortable? Is this conversation flowing naturally? You want to maybe look at their body language. How do you feel on the inside? Do you feel weirded out? Do you feel confused? I think that was a thing too that I looked at in hindsight, that when you're on the date, sometimes you're just there and you aren't really taking the time out to really check in with how you feel. Maybe the conversation is going fast and time really runs by so fast before you can really like check in on how you feel. Set clear boundaries. So before the date, think about what your personal boundaries are and what you're comfortable with. Your boundary could be, no, you will not come to my home. No, I will not go to your home after the date. I do not want to go to I don't want to go out at night with you. I don't want to go to that particular place. I don't want to go to a club. I don't want to go, you know, have that personal boundary that governs yourself and what you will do in the event that the boundary is broken, or the boundary that you have for yourself that governs what you will not do. And remember also that you have the right to say no to anything that doesn't feel right. And a good attitude in someone is that they will respect your no, and they will not pressure you and persistently override your no. I talked about, avoiding oversharing as well, just not sharing, too much personal information, keeping your phone fully charged. And another thing I wanted to talk about is, for the first date, for myself, I would say to consider meeting earlier, maybe meeting for lunch in the daytime instead of a late night date for the first time that you're meeting someone. In this way, when you're in a public setting, that you can truly just be at ease and talk to that person and get a feel of who they are, and it takes some pressure off. And yeah, I spoke about this earlier, which is listening to their attitude towards your safety. So just really pay attention to how your date reacts to the steps you take to ensure that you are safe, such as, informing a friend. Um, some people are apprehensive to give their full name, um, about the location, about knowing exactly where they are taking you. A respectful and understanding attitude is a good sign. If they are dismissive and they are pressuring you, that is a red flag. All right, so that's all the tips I have for you. If you have any more tips that you have learned through your experience, feel free to drop them in the comments below and share with me, as I'm still learning and as we learn together. If you're comfortable sharing an experience or maybe a way that you felt off and steps that you took to navigate that situation, they're all welcome here. But thank you for joining Solitude with Soleil again. As usual, if you like this podcast and if you'd like to share safety tips with others, feel free to like, comment, and pass the word on to a friend. Each of these tips I've shared today is like a tool in your safety toolbox. And by equipping ourselves with knowledge and with clear boundaries, we can empower ourselves to enjoy dating with more confidence and peace of mind. This is about, creating a space where we can feel comfortable, respected, and in control of our experience. And remember that every decision that we make towards our safety is a sign that we respect ourselves and that we care. And it's not that you're too paranoid or you're overthinking or you're overly sensitive. It's about trusting in your ability to protect yourself and to know that you deserve to feel safe and to feel valued in every interaction. Thank you for joining, and see you in the next one. Bye.